In the world of Street Fighter, few titles carry more weight than Emperor. Sagat earned that title through discipline, bloodshed, and an unmatched mastery of Muay Thai. But his former student Adon demands it, driven by pride, hunger, and the desire to surpass the man who once stood above him. This isn't just a story of master and disciple, it's a clash of ideals, a war between legacy and ego. One sought revenge after a fall from greatness, only to learn that true strength cannot be found through hatred. The other fights to rise above all, chasing power at any cost. Sagat and Adon represent two sides of Muay Thai's spirit. Theirs is a tale of scars, pride, and the different paths that strength can carve through the soul. But before we can understand where their paths diverged, we have to begin with the man who once stood at the very pinnacle of power, the original king of Muay Thai, Sagat. Sagat, also known as the Emperor of Muay Thai, a towering symbol of discipline, brutality, and unshakable pride. In the original Street Fighter, he was the final boss, the world's strongest and unbeatable fighter. A man who believed power was absolute, and Muay Thai was its purest form. But his hubris would lead to his greatest shame. Ryu's Shoryuken, the move that defeated him, left more than a scar. It shattered Sagat's belief in his own invincibility. Consumed by rage, Sagat joined the criminal organization Shadaloo, a desperate attempt to regain the strength he believed he had lost. Seeking revenge, he sets out to track down Ryu, but along the way he runs into another shadow of his past, Dan Hibiki, son of Go Hibiki, a friendly but strong fighter who used to love a good joke. Go would lose his life to Sagat in a street fight after having taken the Emperor's eye. Dan also seeks revenge, and though strong compared to an average fighter, his fighting prowess isn't quite the same caliber as other world warriors. Presented more as comic relief in the world of Street Fighter, and even referred to as second-rate in his 30th anniversary collection profile. Dan eventually tracks down and surprisingly defeats Sagat, though it turns out Sagat threw the fight in order to spare Dan a life of revenge, a path he himself has started to question. Sagat finally catches up to the one man who had defeated him, Ryu, who notes that he is still not fully recovered from their previous encounter. But Sagat simply states he has something new for him, having developed the Tiger Blow, aka Tiger Uppercut, technique, a move resembling Ryu's own Shoryuken. He states that this time, Ryu will be the one to be scarred. Sagat wins their fight, but feels that it was a hollow victory. Reflecting on their encounter, he realizes that Ryu had been holding back. Returning to Shadaloo, Sagat makes a decision to leave and train alone. Bison allows him to go, saying that he is on the same path as him, and to return once he is stronger. Sagat asks Bison to tell him more about his psycho power when he returns, a request that suggests Sagat is still looking for anything that could make him more powerful. However, whilst training by himself, his mind becomes clear. He must find the strength to become champion again, on his own. Returning in Alpha 3, Sagat still seeks revenge, but has now realized that the power of hatred is limited. Once again, he seeks Ryu, crossing paths with Dan once again, who is still hell-bent on defeating him. Side note, in Dan's story in Alpha 3, he has lost the taste for revenge, having previously defeated Sagat. After Sagat defeats Dan, however, he reflects on the hatred fueling Dan's quest for vengeance, embarrassed that he too had been acting in the same manner. Later, Bison presents a psycho power-infused Ryu to Sagat, which infuriates him as he wished to fight the man who beat him as equals, each using their own strength. This shows us that, even after being in the company of monsters, Sagat is still a warrior of honor. After defeating a brainwashed Ryu, he takes on Bison, who scoffs at him for wanting to fight Ryu fairly, saying that he will never achieve greatness while holding such beliefs. When the fight ends, Bison attempts to take control of Ryu with psycho power. Sagat yells at Ryu, ordering him not to let Bison use him like this. His words get through to Ryu, who reverses the flow of energy, overloading and destroying Bison's body. In the aftermath, Sagat tells the young warrior that he was almost destroyed, and that it seems like he's not ready to face him again. Ryu agrees, admitting that there's still weakness within him that he must overcome. He asks Sagat to wait, to let him earn the right to be a worthy opponent. As Ryu walks away, Sagat feels a spark rise within him, both excitement and determination. Ryu's the one he must defeat, and he can't wait for the day their battle resumes. Originally, when Street Fighter II was released, Sagat was presented as working for Shadaloo as one of the 4 kings, or Grand Masters, for the organization. His goal was to fight Ryu in the World Warrior Tournament, and get revenge for the scar Ryu gave him in Street Fighter I. The events of Sagat's Alpha 3 ending would suggest a retcon of this, however, or at least that he never canonically challenged Bison here. Sagat's Super Street Fighter II ending shows that he still recognizes Ryu as his ultimate rival, the man he must defeat. The events directly following Street Fighter II are explored in Street Fighter IV Aftermath, a series of 4 shorts acting as prequels to Street Fighter IV. Sea Viper's episode shows her investigating the remnants of Shadaloo and explaining what happened immediately following the second World Fighting Tournament hosted by Bison. We see that Sagat has returned home to train, but Bison doesn't stay dead for long thanks to having multiple other bodies for his soul to inhabit. The dictator sends one of his agents to recruit Sagat again, but he declines. Politely, of course. When we arrive at Street Fighter IV, Sagat is somewhat at a loss. Feeling that his fighting spirit is in need of reigniting, he attends a match of his former student, Adon. The two clash, and Sagat wins convincingly with his Tiger Destruction. The crowd cheer as Sagat looks down at Adon's unconscious body, looking somewhat dissatisfied. He then enters the tournament hosted by SIN in order to fight Ryu once more, though now it is clear that he respects the man he used to hate. Sagat simply touches his scar and says, "A promise is a promise," seemingly referencing their conversation at the end of Alpha 3, and Ryu even gives a quick smile as Sagat challenges him. In Sagat's ending, he comes to a realization that winning or losing does not matter, it is the fight itself that really counts. Before leaving, he says that only by fighting Ryu can he truly know if he has changed. He then returns to his village in Thailand, where he admits that he had fun while away. He no longer sees Ryu as a bitter rival, even stating that he met an old friend. In Street Fighter V, Sagat continues to live and train in his village. His days as a villain long behind him, he lives a life of relative solitude with his tiger, Wilamayu, and mastering not just his fists, but his spirit. Reflecting on his past, something seems to be troubling him. Before he knows what's going on, the Satsui no Hado manifests within, and tries to tempt him with the power of the killing intent. He outright rejects such a power, whether through sheer force of will, or perhaps unknowingly tapping into the power of nothingness that Ryu used to quell the Satsui no Hado himself. Either way, Sagat now finally understands what Ryu has been fighting with all these years, and through this understanding, he too now knows what he is searching for. Sagat now aims for loftier goals in order to become worthy of the title, King. And very soon, the Emperor of Muay Thai will return. Older, wiser, still carrying the weight of his past, but no longer bound by it. What role he'll play in Street Fighter VI is still unknown. The man calling himself Bison has a memory of a time when Sagat followed his orders. But how will the former Shadaloo King react when approached by this dark shadow from his past? All we can really say is that Sagat is no longer chasing power. He's seeking peace within, and much like his former rival, Ryu, the meaning of the fight itself. But for every warrior who learns from pain, there is another who sees it as weakness. Where Sagat turned inward, confronting his failures in pursuit of inner peace, his former student took a very different path. To Adon, Sagat's fall wasn't a revelation, it was betrayal, a disgrace to the throne of Muay Thai, a surrender that demanded correction. And so, from the shadow of the Emperor's defeat, Adon rose, but not really to preserve tradition. He instead wants to claim the crown of Emperor for himself. In the world of Muay Thai, Adon is a flame that refuses to be extinguished. brash, relentless, and obsessed with power. Once Sagat's disciple, he revered the man known as the Emperor of Muay Thai, until the day Sagat was defeated by Ryu. To Adon, that loss wasn't just a fluke, it was a betrayal. How could the strongest fall? How could his master bow to a foreigner's technique? Adon saw Sagat's injury and introspection not as signs of wisdom, but as cowardice. In his eyes, Sagat had grown soft, lost his edge, and shamed the fighting art they both claimed to uphold. So Adon renounced his master, declaring himself the true heir to Muay Thai. Not just its next king, its only king. Where Sagat sought balance and meaning, Adon chased raw strength and relentless dominance. In Street Fighter Alpha 2, his obsession began to take a darker turn. After beating his former master, a challenger approaches to contest Adon's title, but is killed before they can ever meet in the ring. The culprit, a mysterious figure with red hair and the kanji for heaven on his back. Adon becomes fixated. What kind of power could destroy another warrior so easily? By Alpha 3, that fixation evolves into a dangerous obsession. On the hunt for the mysterious man with the character 10 on his back, Adon meets Ken Masters, whom he believes studied with the man he is searching for. Ken recognizes Adon as Sagat's pupil, a term which infuriates him. Wanting to test the fighting style of the man he is searching for, he battles with Ken, but he is left unimpressed with Ken's fighting ability, and continues his search, seeking to prove that he is invincible. Adon then meets Rose, who warns him that people obsessed with power are ultimately destined to be destroyed by it. Adon says he is fully aware of the path he is on, but that the power of Muay Thai is far beyond any other. When he encounters Bison, the dictator praises how far he has come, admitting that he had underestimated him, and surprising Adon by revealing that he knows he is searching for the power of the Raging Demon, aka Shungoku Satsu. The dictator says that power is pitiful when compared to Psycho Power, and the two fight. Though Adon fights well, he cannot keep Bison down. Akuma steps out of the shadows, using the Raging Demon on Bison, and destroying his body. Adon recognizes the move, impressed how easily it defeated the dictator and his Psycho Power. Having seen it in action, Adon is now even more determined to acquire that power for himself. By the time of Super Street Fighter 4, Adon enters the SIN tournament with a singular goal. No, not to find Akuma, as that story thread appears to have been dropped. In fact, his win quote against Akuma outright dismisses the Satsui no Hado as nonsense. Instead, Adon seeks to put Sagat out of his misery. In Adon's eyes, the former king has become a relic, a weakened warrior clinging to old scars and empty ideals. This isn't just about proving himself anymore, it's about erasing the past. To Adon, Sagat's continued existence as a fighter is an insult to the glory of Muay Thai. Adon defeats his old master, and claims that he has now been truly declawed and dethroned. But, in reality, what Adon sees as weakness is something far more profound. Sagat has begun a journey of inner peace and self-mastery. After their encounter, Adon watches from a distance as Sagat returns to his village, no longer consumed by rage or pride. Adon doesn't truly understand what he's seeing, doubling down on his belief that Sagat's time has ended. He will not become what his former master has become. He will prove to all the dominance of Muay Thai and become a new legend in its history. In many ways, Adon is a tragic figure, still chasing shadows, trying to force the world to conform to his idea of strength. But Adon's warped view of the world isn't entirely his fault. Much of what he believes was taught to him by Sagat, back when Sagat himself still followed the same brutal philosophy. But the world has moved on, and Sagat has grown. In trying to destroy his former master, Adon only highlights how little he understands about what real power truly means. His path remains unresolved, not included in Street Fighter V's roster, and no sign of redemption or new purpose. Adon is a warrior, frozen in his own pride, still waiting for a fight that will finally validate his existence. For Sagat, Muay Thai became more than a fighting style. It is a philosophy, forged through pain and redemption. Once revered as the Emperor of Muay Thai, he experienced the crushing humiliation of defeat. But rather than let that loss define him, Sagat endured. He confronted his darkest impulses, even the allure of the Satsui no Hado, and emerged tempered, not broken. In solitude he found clarity. For Sagat, Muay Thai became a path inward, toward balance, restraint, and the kind of strength that cannot be measured by victory alone. Adon, on the other hand, sees Muay Thai as a throne to be claimed. To him, Sagat's fall is not a lesson, but a disgrace, a weakness that must be erased. He doesn't fight for enlightenment, he fights for recognition. His fixation on defeating Sagat, as well as Akuma, reveals a man who cannot define himself except in contrast to others. Power is his religion, and without a master to temper him, Adon drifts further into violence, believing that only by proving Muay Thai's supremacy can he validate his own worth. Their stories explore how two warriors respond to defeat, legacy, and self-worth. Sagat has learned that true strength lies in restraint, the fight itself, and in letting go of vengeance. Adon clings to pride like a lifeline, blinded by ambition, unable to see anything beyond his own twisted path. The question lingers, will their paths cross again? Perhaps not in combat, but finally, in understanding. Sagat and Adon are more than former master and student. They are two embodiments of Muay Thai, each interpreting the art through a different lens. For Sagat, Muay Thai has become a lifelong path, one of discipline, humility, and refinement. Even in his darkest moments, after losing to Ryu and spiraling into vengeance, a quiet honor still flickered beneath the fury. His journey is one of reclamation, of dignity, self-mastery, and peace. Adon, by contrast, sees Muay Thai as a weapon, a vehicle for domination. To him, Sagat's defeat wasn't just a loss, it was betrayal, a blemish upon the glorious name of Muay Thai. In his eyes, power alone defines truth, and anyone who falters must be discarded. He doesn't want to understand his opponent, he wants to destroy them. His obsession with Akuma proves this, a being of pure violence, revered by Adon not for his discipline, but for his devastation. Sagat believes that victory without purpose is meaningless. Adon believes that power is purpose. But their arcs remain far from finished. Sagat returns soon in Street Fighter VI, a stoic figure, perhaps now truly ready to guide a new generation. Adon remains absent, his rage unresolved, his purpose uncertain. Could we one day see them clash again, not just as enemies, but as echoes of what Muay Thai has been, and what it could become? Could Sagat extend a hand to the very student who once tried to destroy him, a student he had a hand in creating? Could Adon ever accept such a gesture? Their legacy will not be defined by how hard they strike, but by what they choose to stand for. So we ask you, do you relate more to Sagat's stoic redemption, or Adon's burning hunger? Can Adon discover a new path, or will he destroy himself trying to surpass his old master? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy diving into the lore of these characters, be sure to give the video a like, and subscribe for more videos exploring the legends, rivalries, and philosophies behind your favorite video game characters. As always, be excellent to yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon.